as I've always said, designed to implode our sovereignty, buses the illegals in, and then signs them up for welfare. CNN is saying it is racist to say the word illegal. Really, if I try to move to Brazil or Nigeria or Japan, they call me an illegal. What's the point of even having a country and paying taxes if anyone that wants to come here can and is instantly legalized? But the establishment, just in plain view, acts like anyone who isn't brain dead is an extremist, is out of control. The truth is there's a large subsection of the Hispanic immigrants, that's the majority, out of Latin America, over 80% coming to this country, who were hardcore anti-white, anti-black racist. That's just on record. There's also a large subsection, a large minority of whites and blacks that do not like Hispanics. This is just tribalism. In poor black neighborhoods all over the country, blacks' population is not going up. It's staying the same because more than half the blacks get aborted. They're being pushed out by Hispanic immigrants. So that's where the real clash at a sociological level is going on, when we're talking facts here. My issue with the giant flood of immigrants is not what color their skin is. If we had a giant third world country of black people or white people to our south who called themselves the race and who hated everyone else who was not in the Raza, and who literally, and again, I have this clip. I asked you guys a few weeks ago. We can't find it here. Call Steve Mason. Bound knows him well, works with him. I've known him for 15 years, 16 years. That's not true, 19 years. He has all the clips. You need to get him down here right now because he has the Texas Frontline show with the former mayor on his last day in office, because what's old is new, folks. This is bombshell stuff. Saying that Hispanics are not the master race, are the God race descended from aliens, Gus Garcia. And he said if they didn't legalize all the illegals, he was going to move to Mexico. And last time I heard, I think he did. Now, most people saying all Europeans need to leave and whites are the devil, they're actually trying to move wherever European civilization is at. So, I mean, I'm just telling the truth here about all this, ladies and gentlemen. The only kosher group to act like flaming out-of-control racist is Hispanics. And most Hispanics are not like that and are wonderful people. But there's a large minority that's bullying everyone. Any Hispanic you talk to, American, will tell you this, that you better join the Raza. Kind of like the Klan would bully whites to join the Klan or at least give it tacit approval. And that's all it is. And we have clips of this. Viva la Raza, go back to Europe. Whites and Mayatas. Crackers and Mayatas. You know, these are the clips that we have. I've done a lot of reports, but we got so many reports, I can't even keep track of it all. So Steve Mason needs to be down here 2 weeks ago, because he has every clip under the known sun and moon, and he's waiting to bring it all. I mean, the most hardcore stuff, he's got more than Glenn Spencer's got, you know, playing it over the phone line. But we have new clips. It's all coming up. And I'm going to go call him during the break. I'm not mad. Some stuff falls through the cracks. We're going to call him. It's going to happen. And you're going to hear the former mayor of Boston a few years ago. If the establishment is able to dissolve our border and get away with the detonation phase that they're carrying out right now, just letting the world know if you can get here, you're going to be put on welfare and given a voter ID card and driver's license and will be a protected political class above the law. If the current detonation phase is successful, if they're able to ignite this warehouse of dynamite, all the fireworks you're seeing right now is the fuse burning. If it ignites, the tens of thousands every few days that are pouring in across the country, conservatively, according to the Border Patrol, and being instantly legalized with whatever fake IDs they've got, that's their new identity. It will be a permanent political underclass that can be used and abused and used as a political scapegoat to bring in a total police state. There are so many angles to this, it makes the head spin. If they're able to detonate, like the primer in the back of a 30-06 or 308 cartridge, if the hammer that's dropping right now hits the pin and drives it into that primer, and if it detonates properly and ignites the powder in that shell casing, it will fire a high-velocity rifle round right through the heart at point-blank range of the sovereignty that's left of this ragtag, collapsing country. And quite frankly, Obamacare was a 308 shot right to the head. Shutting off the power plants, 308 shot right to the head. It's kind of like Sonny and the Godfather, where they fill him full of 100 holes. That's pretty much what this is. I mean, they've just got us up against a wall, just firing right into the country. And the country's bleeding out in front of everybody right now. Making our military serve on average 7 combat tours. Making men with their feet blown off put prosthesis on and order them back into combat. That's like driving 1,000,000 miles on a pair of tires, knowing they're going to blow up. They have defecated all over our military. They have defecated all over the dollar. The globalists are literally waging total war at the siege economic cultural level. I mean, my God, folks, they teach kids 2 + 2 = 5. They go on MSNBC and say, your kids don't belong to you. CNN has come out, and I have the article right here. The I word is un-American and equivalent to the N word. This is the total hospitality and the cult-like political correctness that the system thinks the public is under, that we can be lectured by an army of Rachel Maddow clones like Sally Cohn to do what no country has ever done before. Not just open your borders. They pay you when you get here. This is national suicide with a bunch of arrogant gang member, mafia manager level Hispanics who feed. I mean, repeatedly, they've caught city council and other people's brothers in Austin, where I live, running literal basements full of slaves. Look it up. It's been in the news. Hispanics that they are just sucking money out of their families once they get them up here as illegals, beating them with baseball bats and stuff if they don't pay them more money. I mean, the truth is there's a big gangster El Jefe culture that fits in with the globalist banksters that has been abusing Mexico for 100 years. And so the United States and the average dumb white person who can't find their butt with both hands and who's totally guilty and hates the fact that they're white has no idea what's going on, is being blamed for all the stuff going on in Latin America. And there's a lot of reasons it's so hellish down there when it could be a paradise. But one of the biggest issues is the big mega banks have been down there, and the gunboat diplomacy and the rest of it, keeping a corrupt kleptocracy in charge of all those countries so they were more easily manageable. Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico. Not the American people, but the globalist technocrats that are dominating the whole world have been doing to Mexico what they're now getting ready to do to us. So understand, it's not just sitting here saying, oh, Mexico's a bunch of idiots. Oh, Mexico's failed. Oh, Mexico's bankrupt. Oh, my God, how embarrassing it is, you know, if you're from Mexico. We're going to go that same path, folks. Argentina was the richest country in the Western Hemisphere, more than the United States, until about 1920. Look it up. Now they're one of the poorest because they went under a political system of fraud, and they went the same direction we're going. And the globalists are on record wanting a giant poor underclass. Look, the poor Hispanic underclass pouring in is not going to get free welfare and goodies forever. They're going to be a permanent poor class that is basically kicked around and used and controlled. And that's what the Robert Rodriguez's and the Gus Garcias. I'm talking about people I know in Austin, Texas. That's who these people are. Big, rich, off the system, fat establishment folks that literally manage the Hispanic market. And they give you a Mexican flag, and they give you some machismo, and they give you some flash with bravada. But at the end of the day, it's all a Ford Foundation, declassified CIA program from 1958. I made a film, Battle for the Republic, breaking it down. It's an extra on Endgame. All on record. And I can have sociologists, anthropologists on like Hamamoto, who is from the Rockefeller Ford Foundation system. He will tell you that. This is not my opinion. It is a fact that they want divide and conquer. It is a fact, as I told you, they get rid of national borders but create super borders and then sub-ethnic states within the old super region, within the old national region. This is about the end of the middle class, the end of a ladder up, the end of prosperity. And again, it is totally illegal, on record, to bring illegals in, put them on welfare, give them IDs, let them vote, and then if you catch a citizen handing out fake IDs, it's serious federal prison time because the feds want the monopoly on handing all of this out. And Daniel Estelin, who's Spanish and lived all over the world, 8 years ago in Endgame, breaks it all down from his Bilderberg contacts, saying the plan is to bring the illegals in and break the country up because he has the Bilderberg contact. But we're way past that now. General Petraeus, Nancy Pelosi, all of them admit this is a plan for a North American Union where there's a giant underclass fighting with each other over diminishing resources, with the energy prices going up, to implode everything and to use the giant black market Hispanic class as a black market for the elite in the Democratic Party, like they used Acorn as a money laundering operation and a child sex trade operation. I mean, you could walk into Acorn and say, I have children for the sex slave trade from Mexico. We're here to run them through your operation. And they're like, hell yeah, let's run a black op. I mean, what do you think these people are? Hardcore mafia, ladies and gentlemen. They run criminal operations in the cities. They are exporting the worst of Latin American corruption to take over and to be the functionaries. In the 40s, they brought 36,000, 35,000 Nazis over here to run everything. Now Hamamoto says, and he's worked for the system, that they're bringing in corrupt people from Latin America to man the system. So it won't be Nazis with rocket bases and nuclear weapons. It'll just be collapse. I mean, this is transplanting Latin American corruption to bring the country down. Be loving. Latin America's a hellish place. And you need to be sweet to all these people that are there. Let them in. Give them driver's license. Let them vote. They're such good people. But we have a clip that Rob Dew found that we're going to play on the show of Governor Brown, back when he was governor the first time. He didn't want Vietnamese immigrants there coming out of Vietnam for political persecution. And why? Because 90+% of them vote conservative because they've been under the communist boot. Don't want Vietnamese because they look at the demographics. They want Latin Americans who've been taught for 60-something years communism and being anti-American is how you fix things. Every time they have a revolution down there to get out from under some fascist right-wing pig who isn't even right-wing, they just call themselves that, some general or some dictator, it's always communism is the answer. So the globalists love that if you read Carol Quigley's book, Tragedy and Hope, that was an elite State Department CIA primer that wasn't meant to be republished, that we sell, by the way. 1,100 pages. I've read almost the whole thing. I skipped some parts of it. And he explains, we want fascism, we want communism, we want racist, race-based regimes, religious-based regimes. We do not want stable, truly liberal regimes. So to control that, we've got to pose as liberals and take over the liberal movement. And what do they do all over the Middle East and Africa? You got a stable, secular government? We're going to blow your government up and hire your neighbors to invade or hire Muslims to attack. Look at what they're doing in the Middle East right now, causing a sectarian Shiite-Sunni war. The al-Qaeda-run ISIS forces are blowing up mosques all over Iraq to get the Shiites in a civil war. They're doing it under orders. If they wanted to win, they would be nice to the Shiites. They're not even Sunnis, ladies and gentlemen. They are globalist run to cause the clash of civilizations, just like the open borders are. I'm not anti-Muslim. I'm anti-globalist, radicalizing them and using Saudi Arabian radicals to destabilize the world. And I'm not against the poor Latin Americans. I look at Latin American children, and I have as much care for them as black children or white children. I try to stop them being aborted. Ask Robert Rodriguez why he doesn't protest Hispanics being aborted if he's such a man of the Raza. Or why all these Democratic Party groups want to push Gardasil on Hispanic children. Mark my words, you take that shot, you're not going to have kids. And I said that 10 years ago during the trials, and now it's confirmed it attacks your ovaries. That's because I hate Hispanics, obviously. I don't want them being aborted. See how crazy that is? But what I don't like is a giant army of racist Hispanics being brought up here, literally who don't have third-grade educations, with tuberculosis and scabies and cholera. I mean, that's what's coming in, folks. I won't go to Latin America. My mother begs my dad to not go down there on aid missions to some of the worst places in South America because of all the shots and stuff he's got to take that make him sick. I mean, I won't go report from South America because it's that scary, unless you go stay in a 5-star hotel and don't leave or stay on the resort. And I don't want to do that. You know how scary Latin America is? You know how scary Africa is? There's a phenomenon of racist American blacks, you know, the type that buy into Al Sharpton and the rest of it, because I've talked to some black professors on and off record, of when they go to Africa, it changes their views real fast. Again, ladies and gentlemen, and the globalists want to collapse North America. They only want civilization in Luxembourg, Switzerland, London, and a few other areas. There it is, Mexico to give HPV vaccine to all girls in 2012. And they lie and say it's the law, just like here it's not the law. The president just ordered it, like he's a dictator. This is incredible. Makes me sick. We should be trying to get Mexico free. We should be trying to kick out the elites down there. But no, instead the big banks work with them. Let's go to the clip of the, I mean, when you go to Southern California, we've got the videos, you name it, of images of white people's heads cut off, and we're going to kill you, go back to Europe, all the rest of it. And we're going to put together a video showing all this from the past. It's in my film, Battle for the Republic. We should re-air that tonight on the nightly news after the news ends. But let's go to this clip when we come back from break. Calling for the Raza. Race, 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 race. Imagine whites or blacks if they went out to events and said, race, 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 race. We are the race. And what is the La Raza slogan? For those inside the race, everything. For those outside the race, nothing. That's official. You'll never hear that on CNN because they want to use race to create balkanization and division. We'll be right back.
We're on the march.
Stay with us.
The empire's on the run.
Built out of cardboard boxes. I don't blame them wanting to come up here. The problem is putting them on welfare in places like California that's already bankrupt many times over is only going to sink this country down the tubes. If we had a chance to put a libertarian free market government in Mexico, I would donate time and money to try to help Mexico. I want to build up Africa. That's why I got so upset about the murder of Muammar Gaddafi, because you can say whatever you wanted about him. I've interviewed the journalists, you name it, that have been there all over Africa. He was building up all of Africa. He was taking the oil money of Libya. And he was living almost in a shack himself behind a big wall. I'm not lionizing him. It's true. And he was building up Africa and putting in water wells and roads and oil wells and building an African Union for Africans. And they told him, oh, be buddies with the West, brought him in for 8 years, set him up, and killed him. And now it's admitted in the Christian Science Monitor and other publications, major studies, that Libya is 10+ times worse. In fact, they even quoted it astronomically bad. It is now road warrior, where it was big hotels and giant roads and airports. The globalists do not have anybody's interest at heart. I wish that I could visit Africa and not be hated in almost every African country as a white man. They just banned in African countries under Mugabe. They just banned whites, period, owning property. Again, a race-based system, because when you get dumbed down, ignorant masses, whether it's in the poor South, people living in shacks, they become members of the Klan because it's all they've got. Or poor people in Southern California who are Hispanic, they become members of La Raza and Mecha. The difference is you don't go to college or you don't get accepted in those communities unless you join it. And it wasn't as radical in the 60s. It's designed by the Pentagon, by the globalists. Look this up. And they have hundreds of TV and radio stations called the Raza or called La Reconquista. Look it up. It means the invasion or the reconquering. And what are you conquering? What? With slums? With drug lords? With sewage running down the streets? I mean, I wouldn't mind being conquered by Switzerland right now. I wouldn't mind being conquered by Luxembourg. I wouldn't mind being conquered by the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, if they were pro-gun, pro-family. I've been conquered by the eugenicist New World Order, and so have you. But waking up to the fact we've been conquered is the beginning of the end of this. And so they want to make sure that Hispanics don't learn English. They want to make the main language Spanish now. First, it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago in Texas and California and Colorado and Arizona and Nevada. Oh, let's just make it bilingual. And then it's, you know what? We're just not going to teach English. And you know what? If you don't speak perfect Spanish, forget working at this car dealership or at this restaurant or at this hotel. And then the Hispanics don't learn the global language, the imperial language of the British Empire that's spoken in every country by the ruling elite is English. You want to advance? Speak English. You want to be successful? Speak English. Is it good to know how to speak German or Chinese or Spanish or Portuguese? Absolutely. Is it good to know how to speak Bedouin or Arabic? I would imagine so. But you got to have one language, English, one language. They don't want you knowing the number one thing they want to work for a multinational corporation or to work in communications or to work across the board is English, 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 English. Hey, Robert Rodriguez knows how to speak English. He got raised by a affluent white family, a well-known architect. Yes, Robert, I know all about you. And not only that we're a listener and your wife's a listener, but that you've joined a radical race cult and that you hate my guts. And I know all about everything else too, Robert. And I just hope you can hold on to your sanity, bud, because you've gone crazy. Now, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, with all the things that are going, when he hosts Obama this week to hike their leg on Texas and freedom and promote the La Reconquista. This is the reality of what's unfolding in this society. And there is a rebranding where Americans are told, you don't have a culture. It's not freedom. It's not guns. It's not John Wayne. That was Manifest Destiny. It certainly wasn't perfect. No, it is gangster, drug cartel, the skinny one, Grim Reaper. How do you say that in Spanish? There's the female skinny one and the male skinny one. And then the big drug cartels either join the male Grim Reaper or the female Grim Reaper. I forget how you pronounce it.
Delgado is skinny.
No. I'm not talking about the Day of the Dead. That's another thing, honoring your ancestors. I'm talking about the sociology research I was doing. And we had a professor on who's written a book about it, and it's the death cult of Mexico. And they worship the Grim Reaper. You see it on the cars everywhere. The point here, and they worship the drug cartel leaders. I mean, this is the worship of thugs, the worship of a chief, the worship of El Jefe. This is the worship of warlords. This is like a Somali-style government. You wonder why Mexico can't field an Olympic team? You wonder why Mexico acts like the Horn of Africa, acts like Somalia? Because that's what it is now. It's gone from colonialism that was bad enough, out of Aztec slavery into colonialism, and then into El Jefeism, and then now we're under El Jefeism with Obama, the big chief.
It's Santa Muerte.
Santa Muerte, that's right. That's the female one. So this is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. And when you get a total culture of death, it's over for your society. It's very scary. Let me read the headlines at drudgereport.com. And we also have some of these up on Infowars.com. Border breakdown. Deportations of dreamers drops. It was already almost nothing if you can get here and you're a teenager. Now it's ending, and he has big events and big award ceremonies to honor the illegals. Again, to get more of them up here, feds to bring in riot squad against protesters. That's right. And in Dallas, they're announcing in Grand Prairie, don't come out and protest against it. They want to store them. All the major Dallas cities are advertising, come here, we want you. Clash in California, Villa La Raza. We're going to play that clip in a moment. Border Protection Chief. These are not dangerous individuals. No, they're all angels. Perry, Obama either inept or doesn't care. No, he cares. He's doing this on purpose. Some on right push to impeach. Wire, backlash stirs against foreign worker visas. Activist distributes flashlights to crossers. Agent contracts scabies. That's flesh-burrowing mites. 40 infected immigrants. And it just goes on and on and on and on. They're being released into the population with any disease you can imagine, from tuberculosis to you name it. You wonder why we have all these drug-immune diseases now? Militia group heading to the border. 500 released at bus station every day in Texas alone, according to Democratic congressman. That's a total whitewash. Marietta mayor, feds never contacted us about dumping. Well, just send them to Grand Prairie or Dallas or Fort Worth. They've said bring unlimited. And if a citizen slave there sticks their head up, riot police are standing by, scum. Border Patrol officials under gag order. You know, we broke that weeks ago. Now it's mainstream news. War zone, 11 killed, 60 wounded in Chicagoland over the holiday weekend alone. But you never hear about that in the national news, where they have a total gun ban under the absolute mob boss, the former White House Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, whose brother helped write the Obamacare and admitted on Fox News 6 months ago the plan is to bankrupt health care with Obamacare. The plan is to bankrupt health care. The plan is to bankrupt the border states. The plan is to bankrupt the power plants. And then that means you. I can't tell you how many yuppies have sent me emails or on the street said, I don't care if they're shutting down power plants. I don't own one. Idiots. That's where you get the cheap power. Idiots that have electric cars and look down on everybody else that has a gas-powered car. I'm not against your electric car, but it takes in the equations more energy and more greenhouse gas to charge your vehicle than it does to have a gasoline or diesel vehicle. Coal is better than natural gas to burn and cleaner, and I love natural gas. People always accuse me of working for oil companies. I haven't seen one nickel from an oil company. I'll tell you, my family's got some gas wells, and they'd be making a lot more money if people were forced on gas. Like a lot of these globalists are pushing, because they own gas as well. So I would make money off gasoline getting shut down. But I don't, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to keep the whole economy going. I don't want to be the only person with money and nobody else has got it. And again, it's not that much money anyways. Hell, all over East Texas and areas, it's like most people have a gas well in their backyard. Not much comes out of them, but we've got a few good-sized ones, but they've got them turned off because gas prices are so low. And again, people don't understand energy. They don't understand anything. They just know it's hype. It's fun to say, I'm part of the Raza. And then CNN has the nerve. Here's the report. Like we've got the newscast up there as well. Sally Cohn is a progressive activist, read revolutionary overthrow technician, columnist and television commentator. And it goes on. She says that the I word is un-American and equivalent to the N word. Here's the quote from the transcript. Today, most people find the N word and the F word incredibly offensive. Let's hope that most, if not all people, will feel the same way about words illegals and illegal immigrants in the not too distant future. These are people lawlessly trying to break our country, lawlessly trying to bankrupt the nation, saying your children belong to the state. And then the White House resident tranny, according to Joan Rivers. I thought she was a snapping turtle myself. The first lady comes out and says, don't use the word bossy. It has an anti-feminine quality, anti-feminist connotation, as if it does. Or as if it did, so what? It's your free speech. We need to be brash and use words they don't like on purpose, so these authoritarian control freaks who think they sit up there and lecture you and tell you what words you can use. Remember what happened last year when the city of Seattle said do not bring paper brown bags to work because it's offensive to minorities because they're brown? And you go, that's crazy. No one's ever used brown bag in a racial connotation. But so what if they did? It just means a cheap paper bag. This is crazy. But then you understand, they know it's crazy. It's meant to say we define everything. Don't use brown paper bags. Don't use the word bossy. Don't have a Nerf gun in your backyard with your friends. We'll expel you from school, even though there's no authority to do it. It's the raw, naked, crazy exercise of power. To say, we're going to flood the country with 30 million illegals, legalize them, and let them bring their family members in, and if you don't like it and you don't like paying for it, you're a racist. Excuse me? If you don't turn your guns in, you're in the Ku Klux Klan. Excuse me? The NRA was founded by the North at the end by Christians to arm blacks against the Klan. On record, indisputable fact. And you're saying it's the Klan. And of course it's going to stir up a bunch of racist whites as well. Generally low income, who've been competing against immigrant labor, and who've had immigrants do racist things to them. Look, you take the average redneck, poor white person, the closest people there to is a redneck Mexican. The Mexicans I know are more redneck than any white person I know. Cowboy trucks, cowboy hats, even listen to country music, because that's where the cowboy culture came from. Was Spain? It came from Mexico, folks. I don't have anything against those people, but they are taking them and branding them and getting Latin American immigrants that are mainly communist and are not really a Spanish culture, which is European. It's not even Mesoamerican. It's just socialist dictatorships for 70, 80 years. And it goes on and on and on, and they just get up here, and it's a total takeover. Let's play the Hispanic Ku Klux Klan, Mecha La Raza, down there bullhorning in Marietta, California, saying Viva La Raza, up with the race of Hispanics. Here it is. I mean, that is a race-based group. 100%. And that's nothing. I mean, if people are freaked out by this, I literally have hundreds of clips of all this stuff that we're just going to be airing here on the air and doing special reports on. In fact, get a bunch of them queued up for tomorrow. And if we can, for the nightly news tonight, I want to shoot a special report on this that will also air tomorrow, with all the different La Raza clips and the mayor of Austin saying Hispanics are the superior race. I mean, this is out of control. And they take the most poor, dumbed-down people who have no future and who literally think white people are out to get them and blacks are out to get them. And I don't understand why on Spanish radio it's acceptable, to call black people blackbirds, which is the N-word in Mexico, mayata. And things are so politically correct, I use that term. It's like I was bad using it. No, it's documentary form. I am detailing what's going on here. The truth is, I know what comes around goes around. I want black people super rich and affluent and powerful and successful, because that's who I want to be around. I want Hispanics to be super powerful, affluent, successful, and amazing. If I like your music or I like your culture, I like you. I don't look at what color you are. And quite frankly, there is an attack on white culture because it's seen as Western civilization to override it by the Democratic Party, by the Southern Poverty Law Center, and other groups. And I, quite frankly, am sick of it. I'm sophisticated enough putting up with racism my whole life from blacks and Hispanics, the minority of those that have bought into this. I'm sophisticated enough to not blame all blacks or Hispanics. But most people aren't as sophisticated as I am. And a lot of whites who weren't racist are so sick of being treated badly when they were bleeding hearts that they're bouncing back the other direction, which is what the globalists want, is to create total balkanization, division. We are gang-related. We are race-based. We have to have a Bill of Rights Constitution gang. People are gang mentality. Well, how about we join the gang of liberty and freedom and equality? In this life and the next, my friends. That's why I only put out what I believe to be the absolute truth on air and what I believe empowers humanity across the board. I don't believe in win-lose situations long-term. I believe in win-win. And the advice I'm giving everyone out there, I don't care what color you claim you are, or what your religion is, or where you came from, anything the globalists are pushing is bad. And everybody already knows that. Of course, Obamacare was a screw job. Of course, the government's publicly funding al-Qaeda worldwide to engage in killing up to 300,000 Christians in Syria alone. By the way, those Christians are brown, and they're killing white Christians in Ukraine. The globalists don't like Christians. And I don't mean these fake glitterbug Christians at the mega churches up there with their NLP brainwashing. State-run. I'm talking about the real Christians. Why is that happening? You think this government cares about you when they would fund al-Qaeda taking over Iraq, Syria, Libya, and areas of Egypt, crucifying Christians upside down, blowing up their churches? And you think they really care about brown people from Latin America? They're using them as a weapon. You see, because I'm part of the Raza myself, the human race. And I think the Ku Klux Klan, if I've protested more than 15 times, is disgusting, mainly Fed-run, just like La Raza and Mecha is Fed-run, except they're Fortune 500 sponsored, and their garbage is force-fed on Hispanic youth across this country. It's despicable. You got all the White House funding secretly to Robert Rodriguez. That'll be coming out soon, to produce all these La Raza TV shows. Yeah, state-run media. We've been working on that investigative report for a while. Obama, the Mexican Mafia, and Robert Rodriguez. Remember who got the script for Machete? They said it wasn't the script. Turned out it was the script. Is there nothing America won't put up with, huh? Is there nothing? Now, before we go any further, we're seeing the controlled collapse of our nation. As he said a few weeks ago in England, General Petraeus, former head of the CIA, said, we're getting rid of the U.S., we're bringing in the North American Union. They have to do that. Mexico has opened their southern border to South Americans, Central Americans, to flood. That is only the detonator for the larger explosion for the huge waves that will come after that will dwarf it. And that's already beginning. That's why they announced that they let the kids go free, and now their parents, and now the felons, 36,000 of them in one release last month. I'm going to say that again. The sheriff of Travis County, where I live in Austin, Texas, where the syndicated broadcast comes to you from, is criticized in the Austin Chronicle this week, saying how dare him deport 13 people a week. By the way, those are aggravated felons. They say Austin's supposed to be a sanctuary city, a, quote, secure community, but he's deporting 13 a week in a city of over 1,200,000 people that has over 5,000 illegals coming here a week. Oh, my gosh. It's just BS and disingenuous, says Amelia Ruiz Fisher of the Texas Civil Rights Project. Basically a La Raza front run by Jim Harrington. On Sheriff Hamilton's list is purporting to reflect serious offenses associated with the ESCOM detainees, but were arrested for those crimes, not immigration offenses. And they just say he's deporting, but he's bringing them to ICE. ICE is letting them loose. The sheriff, when they arrest illegals and they have felony records, he's deporting them. Oh, my, how mean. And I've talked to Travis County prosecutors who've been in my office off record. And they said, no, the judges just released them for drunk driving, you name it. People are being now released, folks, for aggravated assault with a weapon. The illegals are above the law. And how dare them all not be legalized and given free welfare immediately? How racist. When they're not chanting La Raza, Viva La Mexico, or Viva Honduras or Guatemala, we have the video of the rallies in Austin. Why, they put American flags on their heads. How mean of the black sheriff, the evil racist sheriff. So, I mean, the country's just wide open. And it's lawlessness funding Al-Qaeda to attack every Christian they can in the Middle East. It's lawless to shut down the power plants and Obamacare. It's all totally evil. And look at how our government runs Al-Qaeda today and ISIS and the rest of it. The guns of Will Sonnet. No brag, just facts, said Walter Brennan of Will Sonnet's prowess with a weapon. No brag, just fact. Where I come from, it's not good to tell people what you got in the hole, the ace in the hole. And I don't like, quite frankly, my cousin got something right the other day. He said, you know, Alex is really an introvert and nobody really knows that. And that's the truth. I'm an introvert, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like being famous. I don't like being hated by some people. I have to do this, okay? But I've gone so far down the line with all this that I see other perspectives. And I'm just here to try to convince the establishment not to commit suicide and take us with them. And so that's why I've gotten to the point where I may have said 15 years ago, yeah, let them send in UN troops. We'll just shoot them. Not anymore. Because I don't want that civil war to happen. That's what they want. I'm 40 years old now. I've been doing this since I was 21 years old. Toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. And the reason I tell people, you know, where the 9/11 truth came from, it came from the event itself, but I was there day one. Just like Time Magazine calls me the mad prophet of the Tea Party, because I am the mad prophet of the Tea Party from their perspective. Ron Paul's the founder of it, and I'm the prophet of it. If you want to call it that, someone raising the alarm. We need to be alarmed. We need to be upset. We need to be bombastic. We need to run around screaming, because that'll get people out of their coma. But I'm not putting an act on when I run around screaming. I'm concerned when I see our government running and funding Al-Qaeda and giving them more than 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. I've had colonels on saying it's 15,000 missiles. I don't know. It's over 10,000 missiles. The government acts like I've done something so they can power grab and run my life and make me a slave while the border's wide open and they create ISIS. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9031. I want to show folks, if you're watching on TV, some articles here. LAPD to no longer comply with feds on immigration hold request. Headline should be illegal aliens above the law, because they don't just release them for being illegal. They say, don't even call them illegal, just legalize them. Legalize anybody that can get here. Well, we'll be 1 billion people in a couple of years if that happens. And they just say, we can't pay for it anymore. We won't even hold them to give them to ICE. plus ICE just lets them go. And so now they go on to say, you know, people that don't have too serious low-level crimes, is the quote. And, of course, I know this like the back of my hand, folks. They released out of Texas alone in a 4-year period. I remember reading this in the Houston Chronicle, 250,000 illegals, and upwards of I forget the exact numbers, a large portion were aggravated felons. I think it was 36,000 a month ago released in 1 month. Remember that headline? 36,000 aggravated felons. We're talking arson, child rape. I mean, I've got stacks of news every day I don't even get to with headlines like this. 2-time illegal immigrant charged with rape in Philly sanctuary city. City cops won't work with feds unless Honduran immigrant convicted. Yeah, they're just going to deport him. It's like that railway killer who preyed on Hispanics. See, there's another underbelly to this. Hispanics who aren't citizens and don't know this, aren't Americanized, are preyed on by the criminals and the gangs, and they're the ones that lobby and manage the immigrant smuggling, the running, the lawyers, all of it. And that brings me to this next report. You don't just have the people in 800-plus sanctuary cities catch and release for DWI, hit and runs, rape, robbery, criminals worldwide coming here knowing it's the happy hunting ground. You have, let me show folks right here. This is in the Weekly Chronicle. It comes out every Thursday. They've written literal whole cloth articles about me probably 15 times telling outrageous lies where it's literally inverted truth. Okay? Fiction. And I was not sophisticated when this started 16, 17 years ago. Now I understand. They own and run South by Southwest. They're invested in the high-rise apartments. They've got this army of fake liberals that literally work for the Chronicle for free, not knowing they're working for a $50 million a year profit organization. But it's all like beatnik old men and stuff going, yo, daddy, yo, yo, black ops squads, okay? And the editor is obsessed with me and attacks me every month and listens to the show and admits it. And I never realized why, because they know I'm telling the truth. They know everything I knew before I knew it. They literally hate my guts. They've got an illegal alien on the front of it with a cut-up American flag smiling. And then you open it up. This is a microcosm. And it attacks the sheriff, the black sheriff, Greg Hamilton, the Texas Civil Rights Project, that's like the ADL or Southern Poverty Law Center, that he deports 13 people a week. Folks, Travis County has a jail that looks like the Death Star. I mean, they catch you doing anything, they're ordered to throw the book at you. And this is an article like he's a horrible, racist, bad guy because he deports aggravated felons. And then, I mean, how do I get these rights where I can drunk drive, I don't even want to rape people, but you can rape people, murder, and then if the sheriff tries to deport you, I mean, I've talked to the cops. You've all heard about it in the news. I've talked to Travis County prosecutors. They said, no, the judge will give an illegal alien a $5 fine. You'll be put into classes, everything else. You'll spend 5 years paying off your DWI. An illegal will be released on the spot. And you go to their website, the Texas Civil Rights Commission, with Jim Harrington and all the rest of these people, and they've got maps and everything. How to get in, how to take over, how to get the DREAM Act, right here. And it's all Ford Foundation funded with the Workers' Party and Cesar Chavez and all this stuff that sounds reasonable. Because Cesar Chavez was mad about pesticides and how people were being treated. Of course, Hispanics were being exploited. Any migrant or worker group is. Poor sharecroppers. I'm just sick of only hearing that minorities, who are really the majority in most areas of the country, are the only ones that ever got abused. Indentured servant, share. But the thing is, they take that whole movement, name streets after it, and make the whole civil rights movement about being anti-white and being part of the Raza, and it's all a bunch of rich white lawyers. And they've got these in every city. And they get the city to build homeless housing, and it turns out it's for illegals. And they get money off this community. It's disgusting. It's acorn, folks. It's acorn. And this is the white liberals that run all this. They're not liberals at all. And it needs to be investigated and looked at. And it goes on all over the country. Programs and services. And then they have city art things with billboards that show a revolution of Raza taking over America and show the plan of Aslan. And you go to these immigration rallies, and it's Mexican flags everywhere with guys wearing Plan of San Diego shirts. A plan to kill all white males 16 and older. I mean, it's like, imagine if the Klan had a plan to kill all blacks 16 and older. I mean, it's like, and the other will be re-educated. I mean, it's just like, what? You're like, man, you're talking about killing all the whites. Shut up, racist scumbag. Shut up, racist. Shut up, racist. I am sick of it. And they're trying to radicalize Hispanic people who are great people. I mean, and again, this will only increase white racism, which is the balkanization they want. We've got to create a culture, a Bill of Rights Constitution. We've got to create a culture where we identify on freedom, on Second Amendment, on property rights, on low taxes, on prosperity. Not this runaway train where you've got the illegals so upset and so anti-America that if you wear an American flag in Texas or California, the gangs, the illegal gangs, get so mad you have to take your shirt off. It's turning around inside out. See, they tell America to have no culture, and then it's overwritten by a Ford Foundation synthetic, weaponized Chicano nation system that does nothing. It's like, here, you're the ruling Chicanos. Now go sweep. Instead of building a system to build everything up. It's, oh, look, you vote for the Democrats. You can be gay now, while they take everybody's rights and the NSA spies on us. And the Republican leadership, you notice, isn't saying anything about any of this. Gee, Obama, you really screwed up on the border. Let's get amnesty passed. The same one George Bush had written. The Republican leadership wants this because the big corporations want you begging with 1,000 people from India and Mexico and Romania and China. They want you lined up, whether you're a professional or whether you're an auto mechanic or whether you're a custodian or whatever you are, if you're a school teacher, they want you up against the corporate fake schools that are meant to destroy the education system, which I didn't understand until a few years ago, is they wreck the education system and then force you into the new corporate system. I mean, they know what they're doing, folks. And so I don't blame people who identify with race and all this stuff at a primitive level, because that's how humans are. But the point is it's all engineered. We're going to go to Tom, Leslie, Rob, Truth, Raider, Joe, and others. But this is a plan. They're going to destabilize the country, bring us into a third world, and the wealthy people will be a tiny group that live behind armored gates, and the rest of us are going to be out here running around poor. And America's conquered. That's it. With a bunch of paramilitary cops strutting around, with the illegals given driver's license to vote politically to totally dismantle the country. If we don't turn this around, folks, we'll be like Zimbabwe and Robert Mugabe. You can look at the culture, the TV shows, everything. It's all anti-white. And that's only because that's seen as the dominant culture, that if it can be overthrown, it can be overwritten with anything. And they're not overriding it with any real culture. They're just overriding it with a bunch of drug dealers and criminals and scum that own the Spanish-run media. It's self-financed by the big banks that launder the money. I mean, it is a criminal takeover. We're going to go to break, come back, go right to your calls, and a little bit of overdrive to get to all of them. You can see the lawlessness as it unfolds. And as they go, outrageous, you want a gun, you're in the Klan. Doesn't matter what reality shows. You don't want Obamacare? You claim there's death panels? You're a racist. Well, the death panel's on this subsection. Now the death panels are public. Like, well, of course we're going to kill grandma. We're liberals. You don't kill grandma, you're racist. Yeah. They want diminishing resources, so they're the only ones in control of them, so they can buy you cheap. God, I go to the third world. I can't even go to it anymore because there's so many beautiful third world places. And the people are just in hell. There's always up on a hill a big armored compound with helicopters. And the rich guy and his family can come down and get anybody's daughter they want. Everybody's controlled by them. Doesn't matter if it's a fascist or a communist system. They have their system in place. There's always cops everywhere with machine guns. The sign of a broken, failed country. And all the signs are there for America. That's why it's more important than ever. This show has the truth. We know what's historically happening. We've proven it. I don't like the responsibility of being the tip of the spear. We are the tip of the spear. In California this time, where they're sending the SWAT teams and the riot police to attack American citizens that are protesting. And in Dallas, they're saying, you don't come out and protest, we're shipping illegals into Granbury. We're there to discourage you. Imagine how warped the Granbury police are. Grand Prairie. We say Granbury up in Dallas. Grand Prairie. Imagine. They're in the headline in CBS News. Police to be out with riot gear to discourage you. To say, you don't come out and demonstrate while we bring things down. You Texans have been uppity. These illegals are going to vote within a few years to take your guns. The armored vehicles and attack choppers are standing by. So you stay in your damn house while we take over. And the Texans will probably piss on themselves and grovel to the cops because they want to be slaves.
What good is a big Berkey water filter?
Let's get to the serious point here before we run out of time. Next door, we've got a whole family. The couple of the people there and their friends work at McDonald's. They flip hamburgers, and they drive Mercedes-Benzes, and they drive Beamers and Cadillac Escalades and Lincoln Aviators. What is going on?
They all work jobs as the cover. This is on record, and then they all have 4 or 5 other identities pulling welfare. Or they're helping shelter people that come in as part of the Coyote Network. It's a whole industry with these lawyers and all of this, and then we let it happen, so now it's a full overthrow colonization until the country collapses. I mean, sir, in Austin, they had $80-something million sent to one illegal alien house in tax returns. I mean, what do you think's going on? It's the Democratic Party's Acorn. That's what this is. It's Acorn squared on PCP.